I'll tell you a little bit about me so you know who I am and what I do and all the good things. But really the course objectives today are to get you to, again, reignite. It's REM, the REM method. Reignite, expand your market reach, and then master client conversations. All right, those are the three main objectives of today. And then Chris, of course, okay, so my background. A little bit about me, really quick. We have a lot to get to. I've been at DFW since 2008. I was ballroom manager, actually, which I don't even know if I should include it anymore because I'm like, that was so long ago at this point. But I did sales, high-ticket sales for a few years, did really well. And that's really what set the stage for me to go into real estate, though. I was like, man, I want like freedom and legacy. I don't want to, be a prancing pony for the rest of my life. And I was like, I want to build something that I own. And so I went into real estate in 2013 at 25, and I started to achieve that. And really soon I pivoted from, I was actually in investment real estate for about the first 5 years pretty heavily, and worked in 20 states, established an Inc. 1000 company, left that company, went out on my own, started over. And in a nutshell, we kind of pivoted to a hybrid model of residential real estate and investment real estate by about 2021. Started in 2017, really got the hang of it 2021. And since then, we have actually built 4 top 1% companies nationwide. So when it comes to building a business, I know how to do it wrong, and I know how to do it right. I'm always getting better though, and always have more to learn. But ultimately, at the end of the day, guys, who controls the market? People who own the listings, okay? So that is a huge part of our business model now, which is why I was asked to talk about this. I'm about 90% listings, and the people on my team are about 60 to 70% listings. They also just like to work with buyers. I don't totally. So I hate saying it. It's like, naughty, shame. I'm like, but my team does, so they get to work all the buyers. Yay. So I just work friends and family now, and that is totally possible. And I feel like for a lot of agents, that seems so far out of reach. It is, once you know how to have these kind of conversations that we're going to talk about today, and you know how to position yourself in the listing in the best way, you can start to become a heavy listing agent as well. It's totally doable, okay? So I failed forward a lot, and now what I do in a nutshell is I just joined up with TSG Real Estate, and they were previously in Houston. We were actually the largest franchise at a different brokerage in the United States. We went out on our own, and we are hitting that in the DFW market for their trainer. And I own a coaching company, but I don't coach real estate. I coach real estate agents how to become business owners. There's a very big difference, okay? So that's me in a nutshell. All right, so let's carry on. Stale listings and missed opportunities. Today, we're going to talk about those two things, and I want to mention missed opportunities because we're going to talk about how a lot of agents right now, you're really missing opportunities in the marketplace to get listings by having more in what we call your value add. Are we all comfortable with the term value add? Do you know what that means?
Yes.
Okay, yes, it's what you don't. Okay, well let's do it. All right, let's talk about it. A value add is what you offer to the marketplace that no one else does. And it's just yours, okay? So what we're doing a lot of times as agents is we're coming to a listing appointment with just information on how to market a listing, but not any real ability to communicate why we're different from someone else. So I want you to steal what you can from today to put into your value add, your value proposition, okay? And it's just gonna be a few things. I want to tell you one thing before we dig it deeper, okay? Do not do all of this at once. It is a lot, okay? Pick and choose maybe what you like, what you're passionate about, maybe what the marketplace calls for your niche. If someone's in luxury, you probably want to do 3D models, okay? And 360 cameras, which we're going to talk about. If you are in distressed properties, ain't nobody care about that crap. I mean, sorry, nobody cares. They care about the numbers and some photos, and you're going to be walking through the 360 camera showing people's, dirty junk all over the floor. Okay, so totally different. So pick and choose what works for you and your value prop, and do not get overwhelmed. So let's get started here and go a little bit deeper. So we're going to learn how to make duds come to life, and I don't know why it keeps going back. Okay, so let's define what stale is. first. I think that is critical. If something is over $1 million and it's been on the market for 3 months, is that actually stale?
No.
No. Do our clients think it's stale? Okay, so pro tip, and I have this later. We have started to use an expectation sheet that we have them sign along with a listing agreement that says we had a conversation that had these bullet points in it about time frame, marketing, expectations you have for us. We want you to hold those things to us. It's in writing. And expectations we have for you. This is a team effort, okay? So those expectations, again, we are in control and we define stale, and so does the market, okay? Now there are things that you can do to make something go from just, yikes, we didn't do our job making this listing great, or maybe the seller didn't do their part, okay? Either that's a thing too. But that initial conversation is critical, okay? So when we sit down before we sign a listing agreement, we need to define what stale looks like, okay? If it's a $200,000 house, it should be priced at $150,000, and it's on the market for 6 months, that's not stale. It's overpriced, okay? So we have to take control and have hard conversations. So we're gonna talk about some techniques how to do that later, okay? So identifying the root cause of listings. Sometimes the ball is in our court, okay? Sometimes we have mispriced something. Sometimes we have given it a poor description. I have literally seen photos, and we all have. I mean, and it's so funny because I'm like, surely no one in this room has done this, but never know. So I'm not hating on you, but we can always elevate, okay? Cell phone pictures, like that is still a thing in 2025. I have actually seen dogs go into the bathroom and cry photos on the MLS. Like, please be better than that, okay? I think we all are. Like, you're showing up in the middle of the day for this presentation, we're better than that, okay? But please don't be that agent. There are root causes of stagnation and going stale. It is, and it comes down to a few things. Okay, yes, description matters. Pictures matter so much, okay? And then price, okay? So we have to always set the stage correctly. Okay, so if we want to visually revitalize a listing, let's say right now, all we have done, okay, is maybe take cell phone pictures or pictures with a photographer that was a little bit subpar and just put it on the MLS. Now that gets a lot of traction in some ways, right? Because we have the sync that goes out to Zillow and Realtor. Oh, okay, so it makes us look really good as agents, okay? But there are ways to very much, especially with places that are maybe even vacant, okay, or maybe order houses, okay? Again, it all starts with a conversation, setting expectations, but there are ways to make these things elevate, all right? And so let's say you're having a conversation with a seller and it's been 6 months on the market and is not mispriced. It could be that they had all the blinds closed, no lights on, and just junk everywhere in their house. And you know what? There's 20 listings within a 5-mile radius. Maybe there's 50 if they're in a subdivision. And so that is when it's time to come back to the table and say, let's climb in the buyer's shoes here and take a look at this. Let's revitalize, okay? And in the beginning, of course, we hope we did this up front as agents, but if we didn't, maybe we didn't know better, okay? That's okay. Maybe you're newer to listings. You're gonna be like, this will take you a whole new level after today. You're gonna have all the secrets, okay? So we can maximize appeal with staging. Guys, there are pay-at-close staging companies, okay? Does everyone know that? Okay? Why not bring that up to sellers, especially if it is a vacant home? Pay-at-close staging companies, okay? So another thing is, and I have this sheet, it was just supposed to be for me, y'all are welcome to have it too. But it's to help me remember all the different tools that you can use. So guys, my little technique for staging, sometimes if it's a $200,000, $300,000 listing, and let's say it's near Fair Park, it might be a little risky to have some staging in that thing because it's probably gonna be gone. Okay, it's like a bye-bye. So what we can do then is we can do virtual staging. Now guys, if you do virtual staging with somebody like Shoot to Sell, it's several $100s. Has anyone ever looked at those prices before?
Oh yeah.
And you're like, oh my gosh, I'm only making several $100s on this $200,000 house. So a website, you need to write it down, is Fiverr.com. Fiverr. It is my secret weapon. Actually, this presentation was made for like $60 from somebody on Fiverr. I just sent him the outline. He does all this. And I call him my man Munib. He's in Pakistan, and we worked together for like 3 years, and he's awesome. He does all these for me, okay? So Fiverr.com, you can go on there and basically create an account for free and shop vendors, and they're all rated with reviews from all over the world to do virtual staging for you. They can lighten photos for you, right? So if you are balling on a budget and it's your first listing and it's $100K, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna blow my whole budget for marketing. I need the money first, and you're in this place. Go ahead and take some photos, see if it will work, send them to Fiverr. Someone will lighten them for you for $20, okay? But the visuals do matter. So virtual staging, they can lighten photos, they can do presentations for you. If you don't have, either the budget, or if you don't have a full service broker that gives you these things, okay? They can do it for you at a much less expensive price point, okay? Also, there's so many different photography companies, but the number one advice I give to you about photography is don't do it yourself. But if you do, again, use Fiverr to help you take it to the next level. And also, guys, for certain things, I like to use Shoot to Sell. Who uses Shoot to Sell? Anybody?
I've used it.
Okay. What's so great, Shoot to Sell, it's a company. So it's shoottosell.net. If you have not used them before, I would write it down. Okay. And actually, you have my notes, so it's all on there. But shoottosell.net will give you more than just photos. Okay. So I'm gonna this is a very conversational class, guys. So this is a 4-plex. It's already under contract. They don't just give you photos. Okay. So they will also give you a virtual tour, one that is unbranded and one that is branded. Okay. So look for companies that give you more than just one thing. Because I used to use a wonderful photographer. She was a one-woman show, and it got to the point where our listing flow was so high that she just couldn't make it out there. And I was like, oh, so I still give her some opportunities here and then. But if I need a virtual tour or a landing page, because y'all look, this goes through the photos, it shows a map, and if on the one that's branded, they give you 2, it actually has where they can input their information. We want lead capture. And guys, I want you to start thinking very strategically here. This is really cool, and it'll get you leads, but guess what you can also do? You can take this to a listing presentation. You're like, hey, when we get your photography, we're also gonna have this. And you can go, I'm actually gonna lead gen through it. So when people reach out to me through this form, I'm going to get contact information, and we can use this to generate leads. So everything you add to your business, see if you can start to think in terms of like, okay, if I want photography done, who can give me a social media teaser with it? Or which brokerage can I be at that gives me landing pages that I can make and create SEO? So start to think what you can get to first for with listings, okay? So it gives you all this. You can capture leads here down at the bottom. It's all branded to you. All the goodness, okay? So think about that as well. Okay, so virtual tours and 3D are amazing, guys, for out-of-state buyers. And I'm getting back to my place. Out-of-state buyers really need to be able to feel what the home is like, right? And the best way to do that is to have the 3D tours and walkthroughs. I wanted to give y'all a couple tools if you want those tools. You can do a virtual tour like I just showed you, but it's basic, right? It's basic, it's still nice, but it's basic. If you're working on something, so there was one recently that we had planned, it was 28 acres on the lake, also had a commercial building, that was a luxury home, and we were actually going to get on the dingo, like with the seller, and put up a 360 camera. Does anyone know what a 360 camera is? Okay. They're not that expensive. I mean, they are, but they're worth it because you can literally walk through anywhere and it looks like drone footage. And you're not paying $1,000 for a drone. And we were gonna take that on the dingo and drive through the woods while the seller told us all the amazing things about the property in a 360 degree. Like that person is walking through those woods, okay? These are really amazing things that you can do to add to listings. Do Do you need to do that in a $200,000 house? Probably not. Okay? But on certain listings, you want to take it up a notch. That's a great tool to have. Okay? So, jot down the 360 camera. That's a good one. Also, for photography and videography, I almost wish Jeremy would talk about this, but we'll get stuck in the weeds and we'll take too long. We both get up here at the same time. But if you also are looking for ways to edit your own videos, write down these two things you need to get, okay, with your phone. You can do it all from your phone. CapCut, okay? It is a video editing software that I think is super easy to use.
What is it called?
CapCut, so like C-A-P-C-U-T, yeah? Okay, and this guy back here, if you all sign up for a 5-day challenge, will probably help you guys learn how to use CapCut, all right, on one of those days. And you also need a gimbal. So one thing that you don't want is shaking up the phone. You can literally get gimbals on Amazon for, I don't know, 15, 20 bucks now. They used to be like 100 bucks, but everybody, and it just stabilizes it, okay? And again, you do the video, edit in CapCut, upload it to Fiverr, they make it right, okay? So I hope this is this opening some ideas of ways you can kind of next level visuals? Okay, I wanna make sure we're on the right track here. Okay, let's move on. We have, so storytelling, all right? Y'all, I used to pride myself on my listing descriptions until I put one in AI and I said, make it better, and it blew me away. So I was gonna show you, I don't know if we're gonna have the time, let me actually keep, what's on my clock? Yeah, okay, we're gonna roll. Y'all, use AI for your listing descriptions. There's tons of free stuff out there. Get a process down for yourself. Be like, when I get a listing, I'm gonna do this. After today, go look through your notes and be like, I'm gonna implement 2 things from this section, 2 things from this one, and 2 things from that one. And AI needs to be in it because it is better than you. It's better than me. It's better than all of us probably put together, the listing description, okay? They do matter, okay? When you do this, you have to treat AI, here's the key to AI, like it is a toddler. And you're coaching it how you want to talk to you. So to be really clear, if you want, make it tell a story, okay? If this house is kind of small but it has a killer backyard, then you have to think, okay, dear Gemini, or whatever AI you're using, ChatGPT, I need you to create a description that is for my listing that has 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, tell them all the stats, that is really highlighting the great backyard that has a fireplace and talk about dogs and maybe, kids or whatever. Now we have to be careful with talking about family groups or whatever because of fair housing laws, so beware. But try and make it tell a story, make it emotional, okay? So you've got to have good listing descriptions and there's no excuse not to have one anymore, okay? So I wanted to talk a little bit about unique selling propositions. We're gonna go fast, and I have it here. So there are some things, when you find a listing, guys, even if it's weird and strange, like if it has a sunroom, that could be a unique selling proposition. I literally know adorable old ladies, and myself as well, who love sunroofs, okay? And that is something that can appeal to a unique buyer. Now, let's think about other things people want right now as a society. Multi-generational. We love house hacking, okay? There's also preppers. So as we were like prepping this other listing, we were like, this is really like a luxury, this house on the lake that I mentioned, like prepper.
Like, do you say prepper?
Yes. And they hated the word, they hated some of the words. They were like, oh yes. We're like, well, I think Rebecca is on my team. She's like co-captain here. And she was like, what about luxury homestead, lakefront homestead? And I was like, okay, now we're going. So think about these unique selling propositions. And then I'm gonna give you some other unique things too. Chris is gonna come up here in a minute on the next section and talk to you guys about how you can position it. What's the #1 problem right now in the market? Rates. Oh my gosh. And it's freaking everyone out, okay? So just yesterday, I was having a conversation with someone, and I said, go ahead and price it as long as we update it, and the big 5 things are good HVAC, all the things. Let's price it at the top of the market with a 5 to 7K rate by now straight out the gate. because it's not the price of the house. Like a 10K price difference when you're buying at $250 hardly moves your payment at all. But a rate adjustment really helps your payment. So we gotta think strategically in our marketing in that way too. So what is the biggest problem facing buyers, and let's position it where we can get rid of those objections, right? Remove all the barriers. It will help tremendously. And this is something that we do, and we do it, and it gives us a lot of leads, but less than 1% ever take this route. But there are alternative financing, which don't worry, hardly ever happens. But I'm not taking away from you, Chris, I swear. But there are companies you can work with that give lease to own and seller finance options. Now, what I have tended to find out, you get a million calls. Hardly anyone qualifies for them. And the ones that can qualify for those actually can qualify for a real mortgage and save money. So it hardly ever happens, but it gives you a very unique way to position the property to generate traffic. And that hedges you against the sellers getting pissed off, right? You're like, you're not bringing, audience. No, we are. There's tons of people calling. Here's my call log, follow-up log, and that usually can take it back to like price adjustment or something like that, okay? So I have written some of those down on here, and since you have my notes, keep this with you, all right? But that's one way. And get to know those companies. Don't just start up on a listing, because sometimes you have to take classes. You need to know the details. It's very different, okay? So take a look into that. All right. So I also want to talk about, strategic pricing and reposition. I have literally got a QR code that I want y'all to scan. I could spend a week of 5 hours a day teaching you guys how to analyze properties. I will get stuck in the weeds on this, but guys, we have to really pay attention. This market, we didn't really have to pay attention in the COVID days, like at all, because everything was just skyrocketing. And it made our jobs really easy. It really did. And even I got out of practice. I had multiple offers on this fourplex this week, and I was like, gosh, it has been a minute. It's been like 2 or 3 years, and people were like duking it out. And I was like, dude, I should have just freaking said multiple offers, highest and best due by whatever. And anyway, so we're just all adjusting. We have to, again, take control of the narrative and talk to our clients about price adjustments from the beginning. Now, if you have a client that's just mean and rude, and they're like, well, you're not doing your job if you can't sell my house for X. Who's ever run into that? Okay. Yeah, we all have, right? So what we can do from the beginning is bring all the proof to the table. Sometimes with people who are really difficult like that, I won't take the listing, number one. If they're gonna overprice it, just sorry. Or I make them sign something that says we are going to price drop by this amount if we haven't had this many showings in this amount of time. And if you don't want to do that, then I won't take the listing. And the third thing is, guys, when we talk to them up front, have it on that expectation sheet. Have it all written down. And I will sometimes pull comps live. If that might make some of you nervous, if you're like a little bit weird about comps, like, oh my gosh, there's that one right there. And you're like, yeah, it was on a 2-acre lot, with a pool. So that's why it's an $80,000 price difference, right? But if you're comfortable essentially standing firm on your pricing, pull the comps live with them. Go behind the curtain. Let them see like what you're seeing, because the appraisers are going to see it too. And when you're up against this kind of conversation about pricing, say, look, at the end of the day, 95% chance, especially in the kind of market we're in, you will have a buyer that needs financing. And guess what? There's going to be an appraisal. And I'm not an appraiser. Only they can set the real value, but they will pull these exact same data points. And trust me, they're always in a bad mood because they think that they're Jesus. So, they are not going, like they want to be God, all right? And so while you are wanting to push it to the high side, maybe we can push a little bit, but why don't we offer a rate by now? All right, so have these conversations, it's pretty clear cut, right? We're all in the same boat here. Okay. We also need to talk to our clients about buyer psychology. Make sure that they understand what the buyer sees. That's huge. It's huge. And setting the tone. And then the market is going to keep changing. Lord only knows what's going to happen. I feel like we really are living in strange times. We are. It is crazy. And so making your client aware that like real estate is highly affected by oil and wars and who's in office. I mean, because we're just psychologically driven and emotionally driven society. We're gonna be afraid. One side's gonna be like, yay, and the other's gonna be like, terrified, okay? So we have to keep that in mind, and we have to be the voice of reason, all right? All right, so also, little trick. If you have a listing go stale, and you have had your client come to this place where they have an understanding of why, and that you have kind of coached them, hey, we need to reposition this way, MLS rules, double check me, you can take it off the market. If you leave it off for 31 days,
It'll reset.
it resets. Okay, and if you didn't know that, maybe you all did, but I was like, when I discovered that, I was so happy. I was like, oh my gosh, this is gonna change everything, because it looks like, like, we can still go see if it was on the market, right? But most agents don't do that. They're just gonna, especially when you're showing 20 houses, they're not gonna pay attention to that kind of stuff. Okay, so the 31-day rule, it resets the cumulative days on market, right? So make sure to use that. Okay, so here's an example of a text that I had with a client this week about something like this. We were texting, and I was like, I told him that, he was like, I want the seller, I don't want to pay the title, and he's a seller. And I was like, well, look, I get it. That's not the market that we're in. He goes, well then, you said it was a fine time to sell. I mean, we were together for years, so I know how to get him to chill. And I was like, well, he's like, maybe I shouldn't sell right now. I was like, well, not necessarily. So here's what I want to point out when we get to the conversation section, okay? There's zero guarantee the market gets better anytime soon. If it doesn't, and your taxes continue to increase, rents stay flatline, and prices continue to fall, you'll be in a worse position and have to sell for less. In the meantime, more repairs being made, economists, I'm an economist, we're never gonna see rates again, potentially like that in our lifetime. And I can't promise that, right? I was like, have taxes gone up? Have you had to continue on repairs? There are more moving parts than we see in this one transaction and offer. And you need to think about that as you consider your goals, something along those lines. I'm reframing the conversation, right? Which is one of the techniques we're gonna learn here at the end. But those are things to consider. There's a lot more going on in our marketplace right now than just money, right? We need our sellers to be thinking ahead. You said you wanted to sell. Let's go back to the reason why you wanted to sell, okay? And let's talk about that and reframe it. Okay, so re-engagements, these are honorable mentions. We already know, if you're doing basics, you know this. We gotta get to the social media stuff. Proactive outreach to past inquiries, we know that. The only thing that I would say here is don't do it like, the little orphan said, please, don't say it's still available. Say, hey, my clients, as long as they are ready, they've told me to do this. We're ready to go. We're ready to make a deal. They're not ready to drastically reduce the price, but I know that rates are tough on buyers, and I have a rate buy down. All right, and Chris is going to come talk about some programs here in a minute too that are really awesome, very helpful. Position it where you don't kill your negotiation ability, at least as much as you can. Okay, reinvent open houses. I'm not going to go into that. And agent-to-agent marketing and broker caravans, especially high-end listings, can be a very good thing. Okay, so let's go into expand these. Okay, I want to talk about organic SEO. Organic SEO is a lot of times, it's tricky and it's not, it's simple. If you want to get SEO for a listing, and this is actually, I had Jeremy, I was like, how do I just give them the basics? If you want to get SEO for a listing, SEO is something that is data-driven that builds over time. So your listing may not be on long enough for it to get a lot of SEO, okay? Searchability through like Zillow, Realtor, yada yada, yes. Actual SEO on Google, you probably have to type in an address. But aside from that, if you have a luxury listing or a portfolio that you're trying to sell, to get your SEO to tick up, to drive the leads to you, you need to be posting all your social media content, all your website content, everything to one link. okay? If it's just the address everywhere to different links, you're not gonna build your SEO. It needs to drive back to one spot, whether it's a custom website or maybe your social media and it's pinned post at the top, okay? That's how you actually achieve organic SEO, all right? Not by just posting it all over Kingdom Come, but having one link that has to do with that listing that is all the traffic is driven back to, okay? So, so also geo-targeting. Who knows what geo-targeting is? You're not allowed to answer. Were you? Nope. Oh, yay! Okay, so geo-targeting has been made easy. Geo-targeting is where you can go. Okay, everybody mostly has CRMs provided by the broker, and if not, I'm actually going to give you a site where you can do this on your own. Freaking awesome. You can be on a computer. So imagine this is a computer, we have a map up, okay? We can actually go to our listing and draw a map around Silicon Valley or New York City or anywhere in California, Washington State, Arizona, and do an ad that goes directly to that area. And all we have to do, us not techie people, is literally pull up our landing page, which is created for you on most of your CRMs. This is almost in all CRMs, guys. It's almost in every single one of them. And you just go to My Listings or one of your brokerage's listings that you've been allowed to market. You pull it up in Bold Trail KB4. It's called Boost. They have this, as long as you have a website, I can almost assure you that your site has this, okay? You go in there, you go to My Listings, and it's gonna say something like Boost Property or Create an Ad. You can have it be map-based. So you can actually now, when you sit down with a seller or listing presentation, say, I directly target buyers in California, New York, Washington State, because you can literally just pay $150, $300 to run an ad for 3 weeks, a month, 6 weeks, and all you have to do is draw a circle around where you want it to be. And then you put in a little bit of text, and you hit a button. Poof, back to the universe. That's like crazy, right? Who would love to be able to brag and say that they can geo-target to their sellers? I mean, that puts you at a whole new level. Okay, so we don't have time for me to actually show you how to do that, but it would only be in Bold Trail. I want you to write this site down. I think it's like $50 a month or something. Now.site. Don't get caught in the weeds. It offers you a million other services too. That you probably do now in aw.site. Yeah? Now.site. And I'm going to show you how to do it. I can almost guarantee you got it. Sound cool? Learning something new? Okay. All right, so social media domination. This is also something that would take a while. Guys, who's using, I'm just curious, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn? Okay, yay, I love it. I know you are. Okay, so this is also huge for SEO. So how I would marry this section to the previous section is when you are doing content. If you are increasing a specific listing SEO, let's say you make a walkthrough of the house. It should be the same link that you put below to drive that to that listing to create more clout online, naturally and organically, okay? We're talking house tours. Guys, have you seen, I'm gonna just mention a couple really creative things, and I'm gonna check my time here. So a couple creative things that we've done. There's this lady who hides in houses. Have you seen the hide and seek lady? Yeah. Like, how cute. I love her, she's so cute. But she hides in houses and will say, can you find me in this living room? She whispers into the mic. We don't all have to be silly. Maybe some of us wanna wear our heels and our makeup and do this beautiful home tour, right? But maybe some of us wanna get creative with it. I have had somebody on my team run through a house in a chicken outfit. Yeah, they got 67,000 views on this, okay? It was ridiculous, it's so funny. And do chicken hunts in the house. And it got a ton of organic traffic that way, okay? So you think outside the box here, but of course you can always go back on house tours, okay? To drive that organic SEO, just make sure to have the same link and everything, okay? So in creating engaging video content, y'all, we have a whole, and actually there's a 5-day challenge we're inviting you all to. This is a big part of it, is this section right here, okay? Video content. So there's actually somebody sitting in the class today who is one of our private clients who used to have and still has a lot of traction on their social media, right? But he had a ton of traction, but he was not attracting the audience that he wanted, okay? As soon as he changed his message, because he's a commercial agent, this guy sitting back here with the cool hat on, right? As soon as he changed his message and how he delivered the message to actually ask questions to his audience and then offer solutions and then have a call to action at the end, okay? He is really truly getting leads. Like, he's working with a developer on, I think, a couple different developments, so we'll have 5 developments. And he was like, it's all your social media content, and you do commercial real estate. Who would love to happen upon something that freaking awesome? Okay? So with your social media content, don't focus on how great you are, right? Focus on a particular audience and deliver a message to them, okay, directly, okay? And what we do is just write this down. Okay, this is your formula, and this is super fast. I could teach a whole 5-day workshop on just this. Hook, story, call to action. What is a hook? It is something to get someone's attention in under 8 seconds, and now these days really about 3 seconds is all you have before they skip you, okay? So don't say, hey, my name is so-and-so, and I'm a so-and-so real estate. Scroll, right? Be like, here's the number one reason why you should not buy a house in this market. And then go through how they're gonna get so much money from the seller and have all this time for inspections. Different story, right? Somebody's gonna watch that, okay? Focus on the hook, draw them in, ask them a question, okay, then tell them a story, or offer a solution, 3 tips. And then, I think the biggest issue that we see with social media is you don't actually ask them to do anything. And don't over ask. Don't be like, like, subscribe, follow, donate, okay? That's too much. They're like, right, our attention span is nothing. But say, hey, comment buy down below, and I'd love to send you a guide on how we can get your rate lower. Whatever, okay? There's so many different ways to do it, but ask them to do something, one thing. Okay, send me a private message or a free consultation, whatever that is, okay? Building a strong personal brand online. Here's the tips for that. First and foremost, just do it, whether you are perfect or not. Guys, literally, I for a long time did not believe in the online stuff, and then I started doing it. And I'm serious, now I teach other people how to do it. Because I was like, when I sit down with somebody, it's done. Like, 90+% close rate when we get to the table, right? But I started to see, we live in a world where people think that you're only credible if they can find you all over the place. And so if you are holding back on that, it is time to jump in full force, okay? So first and foremost, just do it. Secondly, write down, I need to niche myself.
Write down what?
I need to niche or niche. I know, everybody says it differently. Okay? And everyone hates it and hesitates, do it. Okay? So also guys, let's talk about leveraging influencers and community pages. Y'all, we are friends with so many people who have tons of friends. So one of the things that we actually do in our group, which we actually need to get better at now that most of our clients are doing content, is we actually share each other's content. We like, comment, and post each other's content online, okay? You can do the same thing with you and other people who may be lenders that you work with, right? Chris and I did that to help get out for this class going, okay? And also community pages, rent, sell, own, all the things, get it out there, okay? These are kind of things we know before, so honorable mention. Okay, did you know inside of most of your CRMs, with a few clicks of a button, you can have a high converting landing page? Yes? Guys, and it's so crazy to me because we have so many tools that were offered. I feel like we just get stuck. You're like, oh my gosh, I can't have 5 buyer clients or even 2 buyer clients at once and a listing. I have to do all this stuff. Pick what you know you will actually do, all right, from this list of things. But there are very amazing landing pages that you guys can develop for your listings as well. And make sure you have an element of lead capture. Very, very, very critical. At least an email address, okay? Okay, so Chris is gonna come up and talk to you guys about some of the tools that they offer, and then we'll talk about mastering client conversations.
Touch a little bit about, I get reached out by a lot of agents that are like, hey, I've got this listing that's been sitting for a while. Is there anything that I could maybe advertise or do that might help, get some interest? So I put together kind of a list of some of the things I've helped some agents with here before. But number one is list reports. Is a tool that we offer free to all of our real estate agents. If you're not a member of List Reports and you would like to be, just be sure to text or email me, and I'll send you an invite so you can get signed up for it. Because I do believe you have to have a sponsor of some sort of LO or somebody on there. But List Reports is a great tool for listings because it gives you the landing pages that she was just talking about. It gives you property-specific websites that you can advertise. It gives you a lot of print material, a lot of other social media material. And in List Reports, there's also a lot of, believe it or not, stuff that doesn't even apply to listings. I mean, there's like some really great share material in there that you can just put on your social media as content. But List Reports is a really good thing. And you can get marketing materials through List Reports, but it's not very custom. It's just kind of basic stuff that you can get. But if you want custom marketing materials, we do have a full service marketing team here that will help you create some flyers to, market. Now, what do you put on those flyers? Typically, it's going to be stuff that maybe a lender could offer, or the seller's willing to pay for to help cover, get some interest. Things like lender-funded 1.0 temporary interest rate buydowns. So, with a lot of clients that are really payment conscientious, because like Jenna mentioned earlier, the problem right now is not rates. The problem is payments. Okay, so it's about getting the payment closer to where they want it to be, whether that's a price reduction, whether that's a rate reduction, whatever it is, it's about that payment. Don't get confused. It's not about the rate. Okay, so a 1.0 temporary interest rate buydown, makes that rate 1% difference, for the first 12 months. So on say a $500,000 house, that could be $300-400 a month cheaper. Okay, so it makes a big difference as far as that goes. You can also, and we actually offer, like I said, lender funded. So the seller doesn't have to pay anything, but we can do a lender funded 1.0 buydown for those type people. Okay, now the seller can also do temporary interest rate buydowns, or not that I'm asking anyone to give up commissions, but you can actually use commissions to help fund it too. But you can do temporary interest rate buydowns, and you can do a 3, 2, 1, whatever. I mean, to give you an example. Actually, I had a custom flyer that we made for an agent, and if you look at this one, it's actually for a new construction home where the builder was willing to pay for a 3-2-1 buydown. And take a look at that. That shows you what the rates could be for year one. They were basically advertising a 3.625% rate for year one on this, particular, deal. And you can see, that was saving $500 a month on a $279,000 house. That's huge. Okay, so that's the kind of stuff that we can do, and we can create flyers like this for you that you can either put on social media or print out, have at open houses, things like that. You can do seller-funded permanent buydowns. That's another thing. A permanent buydown is different from a temporary because it's buying it down permanently. Now, in this current rate environment, not something I always recommend, but some people don't like the temporary rates and they want a permanent lower rate. So that's something you guys could offer, with some seller concessions. Seller-funded closing cost concessions. I gave you guys also, I don't guess I have it here, but there's a cheat sheet of seller concessions that you can offer on homes, how much you can offer, okay? Based on different loan programs, how much you can actually offer. So, like she said, instead of lowering the price, maybe you say, hey, seller's giving 3% towards closing costs. And they can use that 3% for whatever they want, whether it's to buy the rate down temporarily, permanent, or just, reduce their amount of closing costs. So it's a, really great thing to offer there. The other thing, like Jenna mentioned, is, having a lender partner, sharing your listings to their network, because most of us are networked with a lot of agents. And so, like if an agent ever asked me, say, can you share this link to this listing on your social media? I will do it in a heartbeat, but you know how many agents don't ask? A lot, okay? So if you want some extra exposure, ask someone to share it for you, okay? The other big thing is lender involvement with broker opens or open houses. A good lender would be willing to either show up with you or sponsor or both. So, ask, again, for that kind of help. Lender material for special programs. So this other flyer you can see here, I provided a copy of. This wasn't really advertising temporary rates or anything else, but it was advertising a USDA loan because this property was in a USDA eligible area. And, so, you can also advertise special programs. Another example would be like, let's say you got a fixer-upper. Advertise a renovation loan, okay? Appeal to the buyer, remove the barrier, is another thing to do. So there's a lot of things that a lender can kind of step in and help with too, but you've got to ask. I mean, most lenders aren't going to just jump in and volunteer everything under the sun. So if there's something you feel like you need that would help, ask your lender. And if they're not willing to help you, I'll go. All right, so that's all I got, Jen. Thank you.
Awesome. Going to the last section here. Okay, if you guys want to scan this QR code real quick, okay, this is literally training materials that I trained my property analysts that used to go find properties for me in 20 different states with on how to correctly price properties. Okay, there's also a massive section on handling objections, whether it's a first contact or you're sitting down at the table with a client. And then there's another section that's conversion techniques, not scripts, techniques. I think you become very powerful when you can master formulas that you can keep really the methodology up here. It's like a conversation flow as opposed to a script, right? So, did everybody get that wanted to get it?
It's not allowed to looking for something.
Really? Okay, I tested it. Okay, if for some reason you did not get it and you want it,
Just can't do that.
find it. Oh, you might have something blocked. That's happened before. You might have something blocked on your phone. Find us and we will email it to you. Okay? Just so we can get through. So, if you didn't get it and you want it, come to us after. Okay? All right. So, foundations of effective communication. I have to talk about this for 3 minutes before we talk about specifics because no seller, especially when it comes to setting expectations or delivering bad news, is gonna let you do that in a graceful way if they don't, 1, trust you, 2, respect you. And I think that's the harder thing to achieve as agents because the public has a really bad opinion of us overall. So there's a lot to overcome from that first contact to the closing table, okay? So the number one thing I want you to focus on, and there's a lot of ways to get people's guard down in the document that you just scanned. You need to focus on getting someone's guard down, whether it's, with that client, with the text. I basically, he's also a math guy, he's a hospitalist, so he's like the one who calculates how much a hospital is spending on a patient and kicks him out when insurance won't pay. So he is a math person. So if you notice how I handled his particular situation in that text, we did some math, right? And I was like, he's talked to me about taxes, so know your client really well. And his guard was down with me because we've worked together before and gotten excellent results. And I also didn't sell him this asset, which he doesn't like. So that's why he chose me to sell it, because I didn't get him into it, right? So his guard was down already so we could have real conversations. But you can use humor to get people's guard down. You can use relating to them, reminding them that you're on the same team. My goal is to get you the most money. Okay, and in order to do that, we have to do ABC. Okay, so get people's guard down is critical first. Then, guys, we always need to know why somebody wants to achieve what they've told you they want to achieve. And it always, so his big why for selling this particular property at this time is he wants liquidity because the market's kind of not stable. And he has spent a lot of money on this property and some others, and he preferred to sell a different property, but that didn't sell. So we got this under contract in less than a week, and he's getting his liquidity. So I know the reason why he wants to sell it. It's not just that though, he has a family, right? And so he wants to have these liquid funds available in case there is some sort of big emergency in the market or the world, okay? So, understand people's why so that you can continue to go back to that why when stuff gets hard, okay? That's critical. Okay, well look, I know you don't want to drop at $10,000, but if you told me that you were really ready to get to your grandkids in California and you're tired of upkeep on this house, we might have to replace the roof. it won't close with financing. Do you wanna actually reduce it 20% to sell to an investor? Because if we can't get financing, it's an investor property. Do you want to lose $10,000, which is 2%? I'm just throwing numbers out there, people. Or do you wanna lose 20% and sell to an investor? So we can frame these conversations and remind them of their why. It's very powerful. Okay, so we'll skip over. We're running out of time. So, guys, the number one way to, again, prepare to not go stale is from the beginning. We talked about this already. And I want to just drill this in before you leave today. Guys, it's an art to communicate to people in a way. I love teaching people this, where it doesn't just, we're not tugging at them, right? We're uncovering. When I go to a listing presentation, and I actually encourage you all to do this because this has to do with listings. When you go to a listing presentation, I want you to make it less about marketing. This sounds crazy. It's different with high-end deals, but make it a little bit less about marketing and how awesome your broker is or you are, and make it more about discovery. Asking them questions. Because all of your solutions, you might accidentally sell them the wrong solution at the end. If they want to get to their grandkids in California and they have a price in mind that they are willing to sell at and move quickly, and you didn't hear them out on that, and your solution at the end is, we want to price at the top of the market, so it's going to take about 6 months if we can price drop, you lost that client probably. You didn't hear anything they said. So the number one thing is treat your listing appointments like a discovery. And then you can, ahead of time, before you start a presentation, you can wrap every single element of your presentation or your conversation, whatever you want to call it, in what matters to them most. So that by the end, it's just picking you because you gave them the best solution for their problem. It's not convincing them. Does that make sense? Okay. So that is where it all starts with talking about price. Be totally transparent.